Ladies and gentlemen, the unthinkable just happened. Papoose, who was known for sticking by Remy Ma no matter what, was seen screaming in a hospital hallway. The only thing the doctors could say was, "There's no heartbeat." But wait, what? Remy Ma, the Bronx's queen, and Mike Slayer, the ride-or-die legend, are currently dealing with a medical emergency so serious that hospital staff reportedly had to escort her family out of the intensive care unit following a complete breakdown. What? Were the circumstances leading up to this? Why was Remy admitted in the first place? She was rushed in after a mysterious visit from a former friend, according to one source. And another claims that leaked security footage showed a heated exchange in her hospital room just hours before she flatlined. Now that Papoose is pointing fingers, he's not just crying. He's demanding names because what happened in that room might not have been an accident. And if the rumors are true, someone out there wanted Remy Ma to stay. It got darker by the second as the hospital was quiet, with fluorescent lights flickering overhead. As the sterile white floors and the air smelled of bleach and news. A cry that was unmistakably familiar and desperate broke through the silence. It was Papoose, the same Papoose who has kept Remy down for decades through industry hate, jail time, and personal betrayals. The man who never missed a beat when it came to defending his queen was now sobbing on the hospital floor, pleading with doctors to bring her back. But they were unable to do so because when they checked her pulse, there was no heartbeat. Let's go back. According to medical insiders, Remy was brought in around 3:14 a.m. and is described as one of the biggest bombshells hip-hop has ever seen. It is both devastating and suspicious. Not a typical emergency call, but a direct request from a burner phone traced to a known associate of Clarissa Shieldsy's. That Clarissa, the boxer, the woman who allegedly trained with Papoose during his fitness transformation era's How I Got There. This is where things get strange, though. Because when Remy got to the emergency room, she was confused and could hardly speak. When the staff became suspicious, one nurse, speaking anonymously, stated that she didn't smell like alcohol or drugs and that she just looked exhausted, as if her soul had been checked out. However, the biggest red flag was that her admission report was marked as voluntary collapse. Excuse me, but there is no official medical category called voluntary collapse. It's not a diagnosis, it's a cover-up. Her blood pressure was critically low, her breathing was rapid and unstable, and her pupils were dilated. Minutes before the ambulance arrived, Clarissa Shields entered through the back exit. Dressed in black and without an entourage, when security arrived, she flashed a handwritten visitor pass and said, "I'm here to reminisce." Yes, the government. Name is really personal. And she stayed for precisely 12 minutes before leaving without saying anything to anyone. This is where the timeline gets crazy. Doctors stabilized Remy for a short while she was semi-conscious. And it is said that she whispered, "Tell Pat I'm sorry." Sorry for what? When Papoose arrived, he was seen running into the ICU hallway barefoot in sweatpants, holding a phone in one hand and a tattered notebook in the other. According to witnesses, he pushed past 3 nurses and screamed, "Where is she? She wasn't supposed to be alone." One security guard had to hold him back as a doctor delivered the worst possible news. We couldn't find a heartbeat. And that's why. Her heart monitor spiked just before she went unconscious and then flatlined. Doctors rushed in, performed CPR, injected epinephrine, used the defibrillator, and did nothing else. Fans are wondering if it was more than a health scare or emotional sabotage because sources close to the family say Remy had just discovered something that broke her emotionally. One cousin claims Remy overheard a conversation between Papoose and Clarissa on speakerphone, and he said she couldn't know yet. The folder that fell from Papoose's hand allegedly contained printouts of messages between Remy and someone named Spark Queen, which is the name Clarissa's camp uses on encrypted messaging platforms and blogs, and Remy was standing behind the door. If that's the case, then everything that transpired after that wasn't a coincidence. Rather, it was the result of heartbreak. Not to mention that a few days prior, a blurry photo of Clarissa and Papoose entering a Detroit hotel went viral online. But both parties denied any inappropriate behavior, saying that they were simply training together. The reason Clarissa was wearing a robe and why Papoose appeared to have recently lost a fight and had to be sent to the hospital after the defibrillator failed were not explained in the caption. And Remy's vitals showed no signs of recovery, so doctors declared her medically unresponsive, not brain dead, not officially gone. However, somewhere between this world and the next, Papoose called a private media contact from a well-known underground hip-hop blog with the message, "If anything happens to her, publish everything in the folder," according to a leaked call log. The folder contains a collection of text messages, screenshots, photos, and even voice notes from the last 6 months of direct messages between Remy and herself. Remy wrote in a scary email to Clarissa and Pap about studio cancellations, no-shows, and abrupt money transfers from one joint account to an unidentified bank in Texas. "I've survived worse, but betrayal, that's what's going to take me out." Now, after receiving the flatline code, her mother reportedly passed out in the waiting area. Her brother hit a wall, and one cousin was detained by security for cursing at hospital employees. Meanwhile, admirers outside the hospital lit candles, performed songs, and Remy, "Stay with us," was printed on posters they held. But inside, the doctors were losing hope as the machines beeped slower and slower. All Papoose could do was whisper, "Come back to me, please." The light went out, the door closed, and everything outside Remy's hospital room became motionless. The doctors and nurses were not talking. The Papoose was not breathing. And he was simply standing there with his fists clenched, staring at. The machines that had once echoed with the rhythm of Remy's life is now quiet. But what nobody knows, and the hospital still won't discuss, is what happened next. 2 minutes after Remy's vitals flatlined, an alert about an unauthorized access attempt appeared on the hospital's private network. The ICU server revealed that someone had attempted to access Remy's medical files remotely using brute force, without authorization or login, and the location was pinging from Flint, Michigan, which is Clarissa's hometown. The hospital's IT department flagged it as suspicious, but instead of reporting it, they were told to suppress the alert. The hospital was silent while someone tried to remove or access Ree's records, and Papoose wasn't finished. He insisted that Remy be moved to a different wing in a secure area, but the doctors refused, saying that she was too unstable or too inconvenient. This information was revealed by a whistleblower who was high up in the hospital management. Clarissa had donated $100,000 to the hospital's athletic rehab wing just 6 months earlier. At that point, Papoose created his second move was to call Detective Malik, a longtime family friend, part-time private investigator, full-time truth hunter, and the man who once assisted Papoose in finding a stolen track list back in the days of the mixtape. Within hours, Malik started looking through hospital logs, staff shifts, and visitor ID records. And what he discovered was a 3-minute window between 2:51 and 2:54 a.m., right before Ray collapsed, during which a visitor badge was issued. No name was logged out, only the initials Al Amber. Lewis confirmed that Amber was Remy's former stylist and best friend. She stopped showing up in pictures 2 months ago after it was rumored that she had crossed a line. Apparently, she had been spotted having lunch with Clarissa in Midtown, and Papoose didn't like it. So, why was Amber in the hospital? One employee claimed to have seen Amber leaving Remy's room that night with a hoodie on, a phone in her hand, and a shaking hand. She told a nurse that she would freak when she woke up, but Remy never did, and now fans were beginning to make connections. Is becoming a Lifetime movie, Clarissa. You guys need to stop claiming it's a coincidence. There isn't a thing in the Bronx like that. Papoose drops the receipts, it's over for everyone. Receipts were coming because hours later, Papoose posted a grainy picture of a phone screen on Instagram with no caption or hashtags. It was titled Her Downfall. Members yelled CS and a blurred name that fans zoomed in on and swore looked like J. Mills Jackson Mills. It's an online tabloid editor known for leaking dirt before the body's cold. Outside, Papoose was constructing a case. Malik confirmed that Amber had visited the hospital 3 times that week, all without medical necessity. Remy purportedly dropped the Ghostrun song Love Jail a month ago. But why? The leaked lyrics. You say you're training, but I see bruises. You say you're loyal, but I see excuses. If I go down, don't lie at my wake. Just admit you broke me. For clout's sake was hauntingly literal because as Papoose was pursuing leads, the doctors pulled him aside with a last option: experimental electric stimulation. This was a high-risk Lorazold chance to restore neurological function, and he didn't even blink. Papoose stood outside the room with his eyes closed and his fists shaking as they prepared the procedure. He took out his phone and played an unreleased voicemail that included Remy's soft laughter. If I ever end up in a hospital, don't be dramatic, okay? Just play and remember I never stopped loving you, he said, playing it 3 times before entering the room. Holding her hand and whispering, "Come back, don't let them win." When they started charging, there was a first jolt, nothing, a second jolt, and then a third jolt with a faint but audible beep. The doctor gasped, and the nurse grabbed the monitor. Remy's fingers twitched, and Papoose fell to his knees, saying, "She's in there." But when that beep reverberated throughout the intensive care unit, everything stopped. Doctors froze, nurses gasped, and Papoose was still on his knees, looking up with tears streaming down his face. Remy Ma was barely alive, but she had a heartbeat, and the doctors went into overdrive. Her vitals were still weak, and her brain activity was low, but the fact that her heart restarted itself was nothing short of a medical miracle. Outside her room, the real storm was just getting started because by this point, the internet wasn't just one Reddit user even claimed to have hacked into a burner Instagram account linked to Amber, revealing bizarre screenshots of hotel invoices and private messages from an account named CS Knockout that read, "She was always going to fold. I just helped it happen faster." CS equals Clarissa Shields Knockout appropriate. But the real shocker is an attached voice note where a woman who sounded exactly like Clarissa said she then. Papoose returned to Instagram, this time without a callist. Without a post, but with a live video, no filter, no warning, just him standing outside Ree's hospital room with a folder in one hand and his wedding ring in the other. I told her to take the loss. Take the loss. Followers were in ruins, tweets went viral, TikToks exploded, and theories ranging from Clarissa wanting her out of the way to Amber selling the story for a payout were all in ruins. The timing was ideal. Following the next altercation, we revealed a wire transfer receipt that showed Amber had received $12,500 for consulting a private audio memo from Remy that had been recorded weeks prior. If something were to happen to me, please know that I didn't give up. They just broke me. The comment section went crazy. What am I hearing? They tried to erase her. This is more serious than music. It's criminal. That's what happened next. Detective Malik, who had been working behind the scenes the entire time, finally dropped the real bombshell when he located the anonymous email that tried to hack Ree's hospital file and verified that it came from an IP address linked to a private gym in Flint, Michigan, where Clarissa Shields trains. By the following morning, Clarissa was making headlines everywhere, not for a title or a championship, but for a scandal so intense that publicists quit her team. Clarissa has only been supportive. Any claims to the contrary are untrue and defamatory. However, by that point, the damage was done, and media swarmed Amber's apartment. Jackson Mills, the dubious tabloid editor, was subpoenaed, and fans demanded that sponsors fire Clarissa, which 2 had already done. Meanwhile, Remy remained unconscious but stable, and the doctors were unable to explain her recovery. The staff therapist referred to it as emotional resilience, and Papoose called it unfinished business. However, it wasn't over yet, as the final piece revealed that Amber received $12,500 from a public relations firm called Apex Influence, which is known for stoking celebrity scandals. Apex's client list. Guess what? Jackson Mills. It turns out that Remy was working on an expose of her own memoir, Unwritten, the truth they didn't want me to say, and that the media, the mysterious friend, and sources all planned a campaign to discredit her and replace her story with one that suited others. One chapter of the memoir, which was leaked anonymously to a small blog, discussed emotional manipulation, betrayal from someone in gloves, and someone who threw punches in the ring and outside of it. But that's not the hospital received thousands of letters, flowers, and handcrafted artwork. And billboards were erected throughout the Bronx. Bet even hinted at a tribute segment, just in case. But Remy wasn't finished yet. 3 days later, the hospital released a statement in which she was awake, still weak, and still being watched. Her first words were, "Did he fight for me?" When Papoose nodded, she whispered, "Then I'm not going anywhere." Later that evening, Remy requested that a message be recorded. It wasn't polished and wasn't approved by PR, but it was genuine to everyone who prayed. She looked into the camera, paused, and added, "To the ones who tried to bury me, y'all forgot. I'm from the Bronx and we don't die easy." Remy Marl then claimed her name, her story, Kay, and her truth. Clarissa Silent Amber, off-grid Jackson Mills, resigned from his position at Exclusive. The question now is whether this was a medical emergency or a planned takedown. Remy Math flatlined. The doctors gave up. And yet somehow she returned, not just with a heartbeat, but with a vengeance, and she's coming back for everything they tried to steal. Buzz Media updated his bio with the single line, "She woke up. Now the world will, and they DD." This wasn't just a scandal, but a survival story, a warning and a declaration. If Remy Ma's own words are accurate, someone close to her attempted to break her from the inside out. Then this goes far beyond drama. This is betrayal, this is manipulation, and this is a message to all the fans watching. If they could try it with her, who's next? Do you think Clarissa was involved? Was Amber merely a pawn or a player in this game? Will Papoose finally reveal everything in that folder he's still carrying? Let us know in the comments so we're all involved. This is the Celeb Tycoon, where the drama is always genuine, even when it's phony. Part of the investigation, press like and subscribe and turn on that bell, because the next drop isn't just tea. It's the whole damn truth. Damn truth.